is the plaintiff, Shannon Marie Beal. She says she and the defendant were dating, and they moved in together, then decided to buy a house together. Unfortunately, kids got in the way of their relationship, which fell apart. Now the defendant refuses to repay her the $2,000 she laid out for the down payment on the house. She doesn't want anything else from this guy, just the $2,000 she still owed. And that's why she's suing him. This is the defendant, Tyler Bump. He says he paid the plaintiff back $2,000 on the $4,000 she put down on the house. But when she left, she took whatever she needed from the house. He was very generous with her, in fact. They're more than even, since he paid for all the expenses on the house for the 3 years they lived there together and owes her nothing more. He's accused letting a lady friend down.
All parties, please raise your right hands. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Miliano is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Beal, talk to me. You used to date Mr. Bump?
Yes, I did. I believe we got together around August, September, and I had my own place, and we were dating.
Of what year?
And then, 2016.
Okay, so go on.
I had my own place, and something happened in between that where I kind of paid my rent a little late, and so he was nice and had me and my kid move in with him, and we lived together till 2017 until we bought the house in 2018.
Okay, and how old is your kid?
Right now he's 14.
Okay, and then what happens? You decide to buy a house.
Yes, we waited till I got my tax money, and I also got a second job to help pay for everything. So with my tax money is that what we use to move into a new house.
All right, so your tax money was how much?
It was about 8,000. I have it right here.
How much did you put?
I'm not sure exactly how much I put down because my money.
You're suing for $2,000, and according to your lawsuit, you say it was a $4,000 down payment, and he's paid $2,000. So you do know how much a down payment that you put is. It's $4,000, right? Why are you saying you don't know how much?
Because I wasn't with him at the time when he did all the paperwork because I wasn't allowed.
Okay, Mr. Bump, how much of her money was used for the down payment for the house?
It was $4,000.
Can I ask you a question? Why doesn't she know anything about her own accounts?
During that time, I was trying to help her get financially stable. But at that time, she didn't have an exact bank account for her tax refund. And we were looking into getting the house, and we needed the down payment in my account rather than having all these transfers go through. They said to have her direct deposit it into my account.
Okay, so Ms. Beal, then what happened?
We were together. We thought it was working. I got my nephews. I have guardianship of 3 of my nephews at the time in his place when we were living there.
Can you give me a rough idea what happened that you would all of a sudden have 3 more kids that he didn't bank on in that house in his name? What happened?
Well, my mom couldn't take my 3 nephews and they were going to go to foster care, and I kind of sat down and talked to him about it, and I did it without him knowing, basically.
How old were they?
He was 2, 10, and 16 at the time.
Oh, goodness. Okay. All right. So what ends up happening, Ms. Beal?
We're not getting along. We were supposed to get married September.
And when we broke up was right before my birthday, is October 4th, is when he kicked me out.
Okay. And when you
so
say kicked you out, what did he do?
He came with his mother, his father, and his best friend and told me I had to go. I had no time to look for anything.
So what happened?
With the kids?
With the nephews, yeah.
Well, I couldn't take care of them anymore because the financial and the housing and everything. So they went back to the state. Now he's 3 and the 10-year-old. I have the 17-year-old with me, actually.
And the other 2 are in foster care together or separately?
They are together.
Good. Okay. Mr. Bump paid you part of the $4,000 upon your departure, correct?
Correct.
What do you think he should have done if it turns out that he's no longer happy because he didn't sign up for having all these kids?
I think he should have gave me more time to look for a place.
Because according to you, he made you leave right that second.
Yes, he did.
And that was something he had planned? Did you get the impression he had planned it and that's why he had his family there?
I got the impression because I was trying to be with him that night before, and he got upset and left that night and told me the next day I had to go. He was not comfortable with me trying to hook up with him while we were not together.
Okay, Mr. Bump, tell me your side of things.
So we had some issues about 10 months prior to us breaking up, where just we weren't getting along personally, and also I was having some issues with her eldest son. And eventually we had worked a couple things out. We had started talking about, trying to just see where things go from there. And then about a month later, she adopted her nephews. But after about 10 months of them being there, I started to just get overwhelmed with everything. I had not signed up for it. I was willing to be there for her and her sons, not her nephews and her extended family out like that. So I did end things about 2 weeks prior to the day that I did ask her to leave my house. I was in the process of also talking to a realtor to try to find another house so she would have a place to stay with the kids. But after that night where she did try to make advances at me, I just told her I didn't feel comfortable staying in the house. I had my mom come and get my dog, and I did have my dad and my best friend there just to, make sure nothing got out of hand or, everything was kept calm. So
Okay. So you tell her you have to go in front of them, which is kind of embarrassing, but I think you're actually very wise to do that if you're expecting any kind of trouble or pushback, because then you can't get accused of something. And that was probably what you were thinking in your head. And so you tell her you have to leave, and you have to leave right this second? I mean, and where was she going to go?
she had a few places she could have stayed. She has her kids' grandmothers, her mom. Like I said, I was trying to help
Where
find her a
did you
place at
go,
one
Ms.
point.
Beal? Where did you go?
At that point in time, I got the 1 bedroom and I moved in right away with no security deposit, no nothing.
Okay. So let me ask you, Mr. Beal, she says you still owe another $2,000. When did you pay the first $2,000, by the way?
I paid it as soon as I got my taxes around March, I believe.
When is that in relation to when you guys broke up? Is it after?
It
It's after
was
you broke
about-
up, because you broke up in October.
Yes.
Okay, so you pay her $2,000 in March, and why haven't you paid her the remainder?
For the last 3 years, I knew she was just trying to build herself back up. So I have paid for the mortgage, the rent, electric, water, any sort of bills that we had accumulated, I was paying for. I bought her a car at one point and then leased a second one for her, which she still has. I bought her a motorcycle because she wanted to start riding with me.
But
Again,
why? I'm trying to understand, what is your theory if in March you realize I owe her $4,000, I better start paying, let me pay her $2,000. What on earth is the difference between March and today? You're thinking about it and it occurs to you that you paid more in the relationship than she did? That's your answer?
I also offered her the motorcycle that I bought for her as the settlement, which was in total of $4,000. And she said, I don't want the motorcycle. I want money. And I said, well, I'm not going to get stuck paying for a motorcycle that you wanted and pay you $4,000. That's not going to happen.
But you agreed to pay her the $4,000, and you pay her $2,000 of the $4,000. And now in retrospect, you're looking back and say, do you really think that courts are equipped to separate the pots and pans of couples' relationships, to sit there and say, who had the salad, who had the soda? We don't do that. We don't sit there and say, well, he paid for most stuff, so all loans are forgiven. That's not how it works. Either you intended to pay her back or you didn't intend to pay her back. And the fact that you paid her the $2,000 kind of tells me you intended to pay her back. I just don't know what is different between March and now that made you change your mind.
When I had signed the piece of paper that she does have in evidence saying that I was going to pay the $4,000, I did sign that under distress. She came to my house. She brought the little one with her and we started to argue about it. And she's like, I'm not leaving until I sign it. And because I didn't want there to be an issue, nobody was at my house to just make sure nothing got out of control. So I signed it out of distress so she would leave my house.
Okay, the word is duress, not distress, although you may also have been distressed. And that's not legal duress. Legal duress is very different. It's not, I wanted to avoid a scene, so I signed a contract. You signed the contract, but aside from that, I know from your conversations that it, in fact, was the amount and that you intended to pay her back because you paid her. So you know what? Pay her the rest of the money, $2,000. Verdict for the plaintiff. Good luck, folks.
Thank you.
So the defendant is on the hook to pay the $2,000 to the plaintiff. Let's talk to him now. Mr. Bump, you heard the judge. What do you think?
It's the judge's decision. I still feel that I did not owe her the full amount just because I did offer to pay for, give her the motorcycle in payment. But, that's what the judge ruled. So I guess that's what's got to happen.
Well, the point is you promised to pay her. That's why you've got to live up to that promise. Must have been hard to kick her out of your house that night, wasn't it? I mean, that's tough. You were going to get married at one point. Now you're kicking her out. Yeah, nothing about this has been easy. I've had to make a lot of adjustments in my life, and it wasn't difficult, or was a difficult decision to make to have relief, but it was the thing that I needed to have happen. So is it over now altogether between you two, or not? Yes, it is completely over. All right. Well, you got to give her $2,000, so it won't be over until you do that. Let's talk to Ms. Beal now and see how she feels about the judge's verdict. Ma'am, what's your reaction?
I am happy with the decision, and if it was on the other way, where if it was his family, I would have done the same thing. It's all about family, and that's how it's going to be. And if a man can't step up, then he's not a man. Yeah.
Let me ask you about the night you got kicked out of the house. You didn't make it sound like it was a terrible experience for you, but it had to have been. It must have been really tough.
Oh, yeah. I was very emotional, and it was just hard. It was 3 years we were together. He was talking about marriage, and things happen for a reason, I guess.
Do you think it's best now that it's all over between you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'm not surprised. Thank you very much. You're going to get your money. Now, let's join Judge Millian and her husband, Judge John, for another after the verdict discussion.
This was an emotional case, and certainly people like Ms. Beal and those folks who step up when unpredictable things happen in life and they take in family members, friends, and will parent children like that, their reward is in heaven for that type of selfless act. And certainly we all respect that. But at the end of the day, your decision really came down to a promise to pay, a promissory note for $4,000 on which only $2,000 had been paid, correct?
Yeah, it was very clear. I mean, I don't know why he changed his mind. In the answer to the complaint, he talked about how I let her take any furniture she wanted. That's not, I didn't believe that, and then that's not even what he said. Then he talked about all the other money that he had spent during the relationship. None of that matters.
He may really feel that way, that more money went that other way, but you can't assess the promissory note with that type of evidence after the fact.
Right, and that's certainly not duress. And I have to be honest with you, I think that what she was doing was very, very commendable, stepping up like that. And I understand that she felt like he should too, but at the end of the day, those aren't his nephews, and they're not married.
That's right.
And, everyone has a right to be happy. It's not as though they were married and he knew them well and then this happened. It's not, she kind of made clear that she talked to him about it, but didn't get his approval. Just all of a sudden the kids end up there.
Right.
And he tried to make it work for 10 months. So I don't know that we can fault him for anything other than not ponying up the other $2,000.
I guess I agree with you. We shouldn't be judging him on that basis.
Yeah. But my hat's off to her that even in her, tough predicament, she was willing to try to step up as the aunt, and hopefully those boys will remember that the rest of their lives.
Let's hope so.
Jay, I got to tell you, it was a thrill working with Ed Koch, the former mayor of New York, on the People's Court when we started the second round. He is such an interesting guy, such an important guy. And I will tell you something. Ed and I went to a Tina Turner concert at Radio City Music Hall, and we walked in, and I swear to you, the applause he got just walking down the aisle was as big as Tina Turner, seriously. That'll do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.